Hi, this is Frankie, and welcome to the Joy Route channel. The Joy Route is all about living your best life, whatever that means for you. For me, that means living in a mini camper van, traveling the U.S. I work in my van, I travel in my van, I read in my van, I worship in my van. I am a digital nomad. And I share my knowledge of working and traveling in my van. And again, the Joy Route is all about living your best life. I'm going to welcome my guests, but I want to say there may be some smoke shadow behind me. I was trying to work through that and I haven't been able to do it. So please ignore it. And I want to welcome my guest. My guest is Adalia from Picky Girl Travels the World. She is living her joy route. She is living her best life. Welcome, Adalia. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good.
Can I get your name? I have a hard time pronouncing your last name.
Girl, everybody does. My name is Adalia Borashade, and I am known by most people as Picky Girl Travels or Picky Girl Travels the World.
First, I would like to ask, well, how is your name? What is there a special meaning to your name? Your name is very pretty.
Yes, but I assume you're talking about my last name.
Yeah.
My last name.
Yeah.
Well, my last name is Nigerian. It's Yoruba. But I do not know what it means. I do know it's a very common last name. And when my mother named me, she wanted me to have all of my initials be the letter A. And she chose my first name because it had the same meaning as hers, which is noble. So,
noble. Wow, yes. You're living the best life. So tell us a little bit about you. First, let me tell you a little bit about the Joy Route channel. The Joy Route channel, I would say, is like maybe 35% others. I have 18% males, so it's majority women because women rule, and they all enjoy travel and adventure. I hear from them every day. They're thinking about doing some type of travel, and even though I'm traveling in a minivan, some of them say, you know, that's not my lifestyle, but I do enjoy traveling. I'm just thinking about traveling. So I thought it was important to bring you on because you are living your best life. I watch your channel. I follow you. You almost made me sell my van and go to Mexico. So you are living your best life. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how you started living in Mexico. What's Adalia's story?
I ended up in Mexico because I was living in Honduras. When I initially left the U.S. in 2016, I moved to Tegucigalpa, Honduras, for what was supposed to be a 2-year contract. And there was some restructuring at my place of employment, and their new structuring really called for me to do my job plus the job of 2 other people for the same pay. And I was like, no, thank you.
That doesn't work.
And instead of looking for another job, I decided that I was going to take a gap year, which was not something that would have occurred to me had I not come across Stephanie Perry on Instagram. Because I'm not even sure how I ended up following her on IG, but she used to talk about her grown-up gap year. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So that is how I ended up in Mexico City the first time back in 2017.
Can I ask you, for people who might not know, what is a grown-up gap year for grown folks? What is a grown-up gap year?
Well, we often hear about people taking a gap year between college, between high school and college, or high school and whatever it is they're going to do as a grown up. And so the gap year is something we associate with, you know, like 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. And it was hearing Stephanie use that term, which made me realize, like, I could take a year off, even though I was a whole grown up, like I could do that. And so that's what it was. I took a gap year, toyed with the idea of maybe it wasn't a gap year and maybe it would be the beginning of early retirement. I wasn't sure. But the idea was I'm going to take I took a year off from work basically to hang out with my dog in Mexico City.
Wow. And how were you able to do that? Because for a lot of people, if they're not quite retired, some people are like me, digital nomads, but how were you able to just afford it? Because I mean, everybody they can't do it, or they don't know how to do it. Some people can do it and they just don't realize that it's not easier, but it's more doable than they think. So how were you able to take a gap year, a glow up year, as they call it?
Definitely more doable than people think. Prior to leaving the United States, I had eliminated like debt. Like I did not move abroad with consumer debt. I did not have any bills, quote unquote, back home. So despite the fact that I was taking a 60% pay cut to live in Honduras, the little bit of money I was making, I didn't have to like divide it up between living on it and sending it back. Okay. And at that time, I had been striving for having like a 50% savings rate. Okay. So even before I left the United States, I had been working and this again, the thought of taking off a year of work, that was not motivating me. I was thinking a little longer term about at some point retiring, becoming financially independent, where I could be work optional at some point in the future. So you saying you were able to pay off your debt? Is that what you're saying? Or yeah, basically I had no debt and I had a high savings rate.
Wow. What was the strategy for paying off your debt? I want to talk a little bit later about some of the services you offer, but what was your strategy? Because a lot of people, regardless if they plan to travel the U.S. doing road trips in a van, or if they want to move abroad or even travel abroad, they think they can't afford it. Some clearly know they can afford it, but some, what would you say to somebody who's saying, I love to do what she's done, what Adalia has done, moved abroad or travel. How can I afford it? I have all this debt. Is there any tips you can give?
Yes. Everybody has to find the thing that will work for them and frame it however you need to so it'll work for you. Because a lot of times we hear people talk about, you need to do the snowball method, or you need to do this. Some people choose to pay off their lowest balance first because they get that initial victory of like, okay, that's one less company I owe money to. Other people look at, well, which of these has the highest balance, or which one has the highest interest rate? Because that one is technically costing me more. There's a lot of psychology involved in this. So for some people, that makes more sense for them. I'm sorry. No, I was going to say for me, I tend to lean more toward total costs. Like I don't need the small victory of paying off, a single card. I don't need that victory. For me, I'm thinking about who's costing me the most money. That's the card I focus on. I throw as much money as possible at it. And the other piece of this is to stop using the card, stop accumulating new debt.
That sounds really good. So you're currently living in Mexico. Is it Mexico City?
Yes.
Okay. And so can I ask you, like, what are you doing now? I know we're going to get into your financial academy, but can I ask you what you're doing now? How are you able to live there? First, tell us about living in Mexico. Just give us the 411, because I think a lot of people, I was in a stream yesterday with a van dweller, and a lot of people, we were talking about just different traveling options. And what I was in there like typing like a mad woman. People were saying, "Oh, Mexico, it's so dangerous." I even said at Picky Girl Travel, at Rashida on the Loose, because they were saying, "It's so dangerous, it's so dangerous." I said, "Well, no, I actually know people, not know of people that live there." So could you tell us what it's like living in Mexico?
When I came to Mexico in 2017, particularly Mexico City, it was love at first sight. Like I never wanted to leave. I did, but I knew that would be temporary and I would get back here as soon as I could. it's interesting when people get all caught up with, is it safe? Because I mean, like, I'm not trying to throw shade, but yesterday there was a mass shooting in the United States that targeted people who look like me.
Oh, it's Black people.
So I'm just like, if that's what's happening in my birth country, my passport country, what's happening here for me is nothing close to that. So, I mean, also, I always say this, safety is an illusion. There is no place where we are truly safe. And so, you know, we delude ourselves, we lie to ourselves, believing that we are safe somewhere.
That's right.
Every place has its dangers, and it's about how you are aware of them and what is your plan to handle them. So if there are people wondering, do I feel unsafe in Mexico City? No, I do not. Actually, I feel far more comfortable traversing the streets of Mexico City than I do of any major city in the United States.
I'm glad you shared that. In fact, some of the people in the van dwelling community, they often go to El Segundo, is that where it is, where they get dental work and they get prescriptions that are affordable. There's someone in the van community, his name is Bob Wells. He often goes into, is it El Segundo? Where do you go and get, I don't know what it's called.
It's probably someplace not too far from the border.
It is.
There's the border zone in Mexico has fewer restrictions about like when people from the US and Canada cross, whether they can bring their vehicle, do they need to do anything special? So it's probably someplace within that border zone, like Tijuana, Rosarita, somewhere around there.
Okay, so basically you're saying you can be safe or unsafe anywhere. If you want to travel, you just have to, I trust my gut. As far as living in a van, I trust my gut. But it's just like being smart about where you move. Is that what you're saying? Just being smart? Is there any, I know you're like in some Stephanie Pill, is there any groups you're in, or
for every place that I have lived, I have tried to join a Facebook group if it exists for foreigners that live there, and you know, kind of go in and observe. If I have specific questions, I may ask them there, but that's the best way to get kind of a feel for what is it like to really live here. And I'm not talking about like expats in Mexico, not like a big group with 100,000 people, because Mexico is a large country. I wouldn't join a Facebook group for the United States, but I'm moving to Montana. I would join one specifically for Montana. So the same is true when you're talking about travel.
I'm glad you mentioned that, just to like get that off the table. So a lot of people, I would say, so my age group on this channel, and I looked at the I looked at the statistics, they're like 30 and up. And I hear from people every day through email or whatever, and they're telling me, I want to do this, but I don't think I can do it. I don't think I got money. And again, my joy route is not somebody else's joy route. It's just about living your best life. So if somebody was saying, oh, I don't think I have the money, but I hear people saying my rent is unaffordable. It just went up. I was in another stream, the same stream actually. Somebody was saying their rent went up by $700. So and they're thinking about, they want to travel. So if they're thinking about traveling or maybe going to Mexico or even taking long road trips, what are the steps you would give them to like start planning, like financially? What are steps?
Well, one of the, and this may not be a popular response, but if the goal is to travel, if the dream is to travel, if that is the priority, then that is where you focus your resources. So for me, about 2015, I decided that I wanted to live a life focused on travel. And so I prioritized my finances in that way. That's one of the reasons why I raised my savings rate and tried to lower my costs. And so if I was somebody who was faced with a rent increase that much as I am an introverted introvert and do not like people, I would be looking for either I need a roommate, I need to downsize and like rent a room from somebody. Like I have got to do something to bring that cost down, even if it makes me, even if it's not my preference, because to me, having the money to be able to travel would be worth the sacrifice in that department. And plus, if I'm traveling more, let's say they're not somebody who wants to live abroad necessarily, but they want to travel more. Well, then downsizing my life and renting a room from somebody, that works better.
That's what I did. That's what I did.
You know, because my expenses would be lower. I'm not trying to travel and balance the upkeep of a house or, you know, a department for which I am responsible for all of these things.
That's a good point. And that's what I did. I had a roommate situation before I moved into a mini camper van. I rented a room. I am also an introvert. People think I'm the life of the party. I can be, but I'm also very much an introvert. I need to go away and refuel. So you would say basically downsize the cost of living. That would be the first start. Deciding what they want to do or how they want to travel. I think people, they think when you move into a van, like you just road trip US, and that's primarily what I do. But I've also been to Mexico and Jamaica and Bahamas. So if somebody wanted to like start, how soon should they start? And may I ask you one more thing? What profession are you in before you started living in Mexico and became an independent, a digital nomad, I guess?
I used to be a public school teacher. Poorly
Bless
paid public school teacher.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. And okay, so right now living there, would you say you have designed the life you want? You are living a joy route? Would you say, not, you know, are you living your best life right now? Are you living? I know it's ups and downs in any lifestyle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I am living the life of my dreams. I remember very distinctly looking around at the life that I had and saying, this is not what I want. This is not bringing me happiness. And I made a list of how I wanted to live, like what I thought that looked like. And it blows me away when I think about it, that I am literally doing that, because I feel like in the US particularly, we're told to dream, but we are encouraged to keep those dreams as dreams. We're not really encouraged to make them happen.
Yes. And we're also just encouraged to like follow this like playbook. Like for me, it was like, I got married. I got a college degree. It doesn't even matter. I followed that playbook, but after that playbook, I was not happy. When I became an empty nester, I didn't find myself happy. So I guess my question is you as well. You teach people. It's something you said I've seen on your channel. Well, let me say this first before what I talk about what I seen on your channel. I like the fact, I really appreciate, although I'm a part of the nomad, I guess you could say van community, I've like just been stalking the travel, the Black expat community. And one of the things I really appreciate and honor is that you all are so open, like with information and just like very welcoming. Not to say the nomad community, because I felt very welcome, but I appreciate you all sharing information with the community. Now I would like to talk about what are some of the ways that you share how people can get money. You talk about, she says, y'all, it's this thing, F you money. I like that. I like that. Like F you money. So could you talk about why
you need to have money that you can, the polite way to say it is so that you can walk away from the things and the people who no longer serve you. But there are times when you want to be like, F you, F this job. And the freedom to do that comes from being financially stable, from having a safety net. And so I think everybody needs to have that.
Oh, okay. So I talk about how people can monetize their knowledge. You talk about how people can get their money right. Can you share about how you do that? Is it through like a class? I mean, how do you talk about how people can get their money right? And also your community. I mean, I'm gonna tell y'all something, and I'm not just saying this because she's here. I followed this woman. I followed the like travel community, the Black expat community, and they are loving. They are generous with it, generous with the information, but they also have things that will help you, So can you talk about what you offer to help people get their money right or get their FU money?
The services I provide, because I tell this story often. When I was living in Kuwait for a very brief period of time, and I was working for an employer who was horrible, and I was immediately plotting my exit and was like, I've got money in the bank. I don't need to take this. But I looked around, particularly at the women I worked with who were not in a position to do that. And I'm not any different. I'm not any better than any of them. I just happen to have some knowledge that maybe they didn't have. And so that's the pivotal event that really sent it home for me, that like, you kind of have a responsibility to share these things that you figured out. And so when I left Kuwait and ended up moving to China.
Wow. I'm just like stuck in Kuwait. Like I think about
so I left Kuwait because since I turned 40, I do not stay in places or continue to do things that do not serve me. Like that part of my life is over. And so I found myself living in China. And as that came to an end, I knew that I was not going to continue teaching in K-12. And I really wanted to do work that matters. That's what brought me to public education to begin with. And so I thought, why not help other women master their money so that they, whatever, like you said, their joy route, whatever that looks like, money won't be the thing that stands in the way for them.
I love that. I love that, because whatever your joy route, whatever you want to do, whether you want to go to Mexico, whether you want to travel full-time or part-time, money is just not going to fly from the sky. So there are things that we need. There are resources that we need to understand how to master their money. Can you talk about how you help women?
Yes. So I do offer one-on-one consultation sessions where we talk about what are your specific goals, what is your specific situation, how would be best to move forward. I also provide educational resources through courses like the Get Started Investing Challenge, which is a very short challenge to kind of help women get over that hump of, I know I should be investing, but I don't really know what to do. This is intimidating. I need somebody to help push me along. I also have the Financial Confidence Academy, because you'll hear me use that term financial confidence quite a bit, because I determined that that's what was lacking. A lot of people's, what's the word I'm looking for? Their hesitation, their procrastination about putting their money to work really dealt with their lack of confidence when it came to their finances. And so I am working to help them overcome that. And so the Financial Confidence Academy is a sort of I guess we could call it group coaching / membership, but basically, for a small amount of money per month, you have access to workshops on particular financial topics, Q&A sessions where, you know, it's part of like growing your knowledge base.
Okay. And that's very
when it comes to money.
That's very important. I think a lot of people, we get information or we need the information, but we're like, oh, I don't know where to go. I don't know who I can trust. I've been following your videos, your content, where you give a lot of helpful information. And so in addition to having this, these paid things, I think that based on what I've seen from your videos, and I would encourage everybody to go over there, you give so much, you give a wealth of information. I feel like your videos, this Black expat community has been so welcoming. It's a community that I trust. I've taken courses, I've taken classes, I teach classes and courses, not on that topic, but on how to monetize your knowledge. And I've been like, I was recently in something and I just felt like it was for millennials. I felt like it was like, all hype and flash and splash. And I was like, you know what? This ain't really for me. I just didn't feel it. So I feel more comfortable. You say you're over 40, but you look very young. But I think the wisdom, I mean, I think that it's something that like my audience will find very valuable and helpful, because my audience is seasoned. Like, we ain't no spring chickens. We look like
I feel
we
you.
look like a little spring chicken, but we don't like, hey, we want like information. We want the real deal.
Well, and that's if I was gonna say, if anybody knows me or they watch any of my videos, they will very quickly learn that I make it plain. I don't deal with fluff. Like, that is not who I am as a person. And I very much work hard to be, dang it, what's the word? Like, I do not say things that I don't mean, and I mean everything I say. So, like, there's no double speak with me. What you see is what you get.
Okay. And that's why I've been drawn to your channel and some of the people who you associate with. I've been drawn to that channel because I feel a genuineness. I just do. I feel a connection. I think a lot of people think, even though I have like I said, I have a 65% Black, 35% other, people say, oh, why are you bringing that up? I bring that up because Black travel, some of the things we experience, it's not the same. And I know people would like to think that it is, but it's absolutely not. So why I'm drawn to your channel, why I'm drawn to the channel of people who recommend you, because I feel safety, I feel comfort in knowing that the information you're giving me is based on your experience. I look like you, I understand it. So would you talk about a little bit about some of the content you share and why you share that content on your channel?
Initially, I started off as a podcaster because I really had no desire to do YouTube. I did not want to make any videos. And my podcast, the Picky Girl Travels podcast, is really focused on helping Black women live life on their terms, whatever that looks like. And I share a lot of my experience getting from, how I was in the first part of my life into getting to a place where, as you mentioned earlier, I am literally living my best life. And that evolved into, or doing the work that I do, helping women relocate abroad and helping them master their money. YouTube seemed like a good place to share information. So the YouTube channel started primarily focused on sharing things that I've learned about money, finances, investing, all of that kind of thing, as well as, sharing what my life looks like in whatever country I happen to be living in or traveling to, as well as, helping other primarily Black women.
And that's what it is. Because,
that's what it is.
It is.
Who are looking to leave the U.S. Although some of my audience is in Canada and the U.K., primarily English-speaking countries, because all of my videos are in English. But and helping them figure out, like, if that's a dream that they have, how can they make that happen?
I'm glad you made that, just saying even Black women, because some of the people who I run with, or like some of my friends in the nomad community, sometimes when I bring up, like, is this safe? Because I'm not going there with you if it's safe. And they go, why would you say that? And I'm like, are you kidding me? It is important to have people who look like you, giving you information, sharing information. I unapologetically... It's real.
Here's the thing, and this is primarily an issue for white America, because they are often uncomfortable talking about race because of guilt, or I'm not white, so I don't know why they are uncomfortable.
They are comfortable.
But they are uncomfortable. And this is why you get comments like, well, why you got to mention that? Because every day I exist as a Black woman, and how people treat me, how people interact with me, how whether or not I'm going to survive the day is tied to that. Therefore, I need somebody who has experienced the world the way I have. And that's not an inherently bad thing.
It's not.
So if I was a white guy, yes. And there are white men who watch my channel.
My channel too.
And although I produce my content for Black women, if they can gain information, that's great for them. But I chose, when I made the decision to put content out into the world, that I wanted to help other women like me. And there is nothing wrong with that.
I mean, unapologetically. Yes. I go to one of my people in the van community. His name is Bob Wells. And he puts on this, I call it a van convention, like van RV convention for people to meet. But if you look at that convention, it's like 95% white people. And some of my subscribers are white. Some of my friends are white. But it's still in there. And I had a really good friend who's white. She said, well, why do you need to just come? I said, are you crazy? Are you disrespecting me? Are you out your mind? I need to know. Am I going to be comfortable? Am I going to get the information that a Black person needs? I don't care what people say. I'm sorry, go ahead. Adalia.
No, and I would challenge any of your non-Black viewers to, when they feel the urge to have that response, instead respond with, I wonder why so many Black people feel the need to, like they need to know, will it be safe for Black people? Or they need to know, what is the experience of Black people? Ask that question instead, because that question will lead you to understand where we're coming from, instead of making the assumption that where we're coming from, like, that doesn't need to be discussed. I'm always one to ask questions. And so to me, it's more interesting of, well, what's going on in their experience of the United States or the world, where that question, where they feel that that's necessary.
Where it's not that question.
That's the better way to approach it.
It is. When I was in that live stream, it was a Black woman's live stream, and everybody in the stream that were saying Mexico is dangerous. You're talking about brown people. You're not talking about just you going to this area. You're talking about brown people. So you have that assumption that, oh, when I go to Black stuff, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. So that's our brown people. That's what you're talking about.
Well, and so that's why. Also, were those people who had been to Mexico? Because
They quick
to tell me it's dangerous. And I will often say, so when you came, what happened? Oh, well, I didn't go.
Exactly. But you're hearing. That's why I'm bringing this to you. And I'm bringing, in one of the directions that I want to move my channel, I welcome all, but I want to specifically focus on people who travel, brown and Black people and women who travel, because it's important, because your experience as a Black woman, my experience as a Black woman, their experience as a brown woman, or even a woman, it's going to be different from somebody else's experience. And I'm not going to say, oh, it's not going to be different. We all going to be, no, we're not going to be. No. We're not going to be. So that's why I wanted to bring you on here. And also even the way you give the way you give financial information, getting financial information from someone who does not look like you may not resonate with you. That's the truth. They know that. That's the reason why 100% or 90% of what they do is with people who look like them, because it resonates with them. We're able to understand it. You know the plight. Are you a mom, Adalia?
Yes, I have 2 children.
You're a mom, so you understand that. You've been married. I know about your channel, so you've been married. And so as a mom who's been married, as a Black woman, you have different experiences that you can, would you say, bring to your channel, my channel?
Here's the thing. Somebody like Elon Musk, who came from money and had that, like how he built his fortune, is not really going to work for somebody like me, who's basically been on their own since they were 8 years old. So,
it's different.
That's different when you had a parent who gifted you this or invested in your business and did that. That's a different thing. So it's no different. You want, and there is nothing wrong with seeking out people who are sharing information, who have a similar situation to yours, or there is some aspect of their life that resonates with you. This is why I always mention my background in K-12 education, because if I can get to this point financially, given how little money I made, It is possible. I'm showing it is possible for a whole lot of people. You do not need a six-figure salary.
I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people on this channel, they're very hardworking people. Some are retired, some are still working, but they're wondering, like, my rent is going up, or my husband passed away and I can't afford my mortgage, or my kids moved out. So they want to know ways smartly to start eliminating debt and start moving into the life of their dreams. And that's what I encourage people to do. My dream life is not going to be your dream life. And so I appreciate you, your channel, the community that you're in. I'm proud to have started to follow some of the travelers who are Black expats and to learn. One of the things I did not hear in the nomad community, I'm not saying it's not there, but what I didn't hear, well, Bob Wells talked about it. One of the things I did not hear was, how do you get to van life? Like, I've never shared my budget. I'm a person I'm a college graduate. I was married. I have 2 grown children. People have asked me repeatedly, what's your budget? What's your budget? And as a digital nomad, I've just never just shared my budget. But there are steps you do have to take. And I'm glad somebody who's like you, who has sat down and said, here's what you need to do. I just did my steps, like, oh, let me haphazardly do this or whatever. But I'm glad there's someone that has sat down and decided, here's how you do it, because I know that's what my audience needs. I know that's what we're missing. So I'm honored that you sit down and you break down what it is. What can we expect? If somebody, because I might come in July with the Cancun thing that Stephanie's doing. What can people expect if they did just want to travel out the country? And what can we expect?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of times, for many, many reasons, people in the US don't feel like going to Mexico is really traveling internationally. And what they don't understand, or what they don't know, for whatever reason, is that Mexico is a large country with a variety of landscapes, climates, activities, and really there is something for everyone. If you want big city life, like you're talking about mega city, world-class city with art, culture, food, mass transit, Mexico City will give you that. But if you really would like, something slow paced in the mountains, like, you can get that in Mexico City. Not Mexico City, in Mexico, there are gorgeous beaches, there are mountains to hike, there are volcanoes, there are deserts, like, what is the canyon? Copper Canyon in Mexico, I believe, is twice the size of the Grand Canyon. I mean, so like, whatever you can think of, pretty much you can find that experience in Mexico, and you get to do it without having to travel 24 hours. Yeah.
Can I ask you something? I have a person, she's a van dweller. Her name is Antoinette. I think Antoinette Yvonne. I'm not sure. And I apologize for any background noise. Like, y'all know I live in my van, so it's like whatever you hear, you hear. And so her and her crew, they caravan to Mexico. That's not where you're at. What did they do? They like cross the border and
because I have taken the bus from Mexico City back to Houston, and that is supposed to be a 24-hour bus ride. And
what kind of bus was it?
It's like a Greyhound charter bus kind of thing. And it ended up taking closer to 40 hours because the traffic was so backed up at the border. But and again, that's what I say, like, people don't understand how big the country is. So there are 4 or 5 US states that border Mexico. Texas. Now, some of those places you can cross the border are
difficult,
more secure
than
others. But I'm a 2-hour flight from Houston, but that is at least 24 hours if you are going to drive, at least. And driving in Mexico, generally, it's like, especially if you're talking about like driving road tripping.
They did a caravan. They did
you some vans. you don't want to do that at night because when you get outside of urban areas, there are no street lights.
They had some accidents, like her channel. They was in ditches.
Yeah, and then there are livestock that sometimes gets out and you can't see it because until you're right up on it because there are no street lights. And then there are topes, which are like speed bumps. Okay. Like they can be anywhere randomly. So you don't want to just be, you know, like cruising along at night and all of a sudden you hit one going 45, 50 miles an hour. So driving someplace, you know, you tend to, it needs, if you're doing like road trip kinds of things, you would do that in the daylight, or just if once you get here, take the bus. The bus system here is really good, and there are levels. So there are really, really bargain basement prices, and then there's like luxury buses with seats that recline, like almost lay flat. You know, so there's
a whole different ways. There are different ways to get to Mexico City. Okay. And so you've had an enjoyable, the food, the country, everything works for you, is working for you right now.
It does.
I noticed like she has this fly pink hair. That's why I was calling her channel Pinky Girls. I don't know why. It's Pinky Girls Travels the World, and she shares her travels, and I really enjoy your channel. I want you to give the name of your YouTube channel, give the name of the way people can access resources or access things that you offer if they want to know how to get their money right, how to get their FU money right, how to get anything they need to get right, because we all need to get our money right.
Yes, absolutely.
How we going to do XYZ or whatever.
Okay, so my YouTube channel is Picky Girl Travels the World.
Okay.
And if you go there, you will find multiple playlists. There is a playlist specifically on financial topics. There is a playlist there specifically on like solo travel, travel hacks, travel tips. There's also a playlist on life in Mexico where I've shared some of my things. I've interviewed other people who are living in Mexico. If you're on IG or Facebook, I am Picky Girl Travels.
I'll put everything in so I'm using Google, so I don't have like StreamYard, but I'll put everything in this video at the bottom, everything that you provide. I'll put all your links to be contacted.
Okay. And then the website is pickygirltravelstheworld.com. You can go there, read reviews. You can see what kind of sessions I offer, what kind of courses I offer. My travel blog, although I have not blogged since I've been in China, because I've been making YouTube videos. But there's content from my travel blog there as well. And there's also a resource page with a variety of resources. I have a checklist for those who are considering a move abroad to help them plan that move.
That's important. I have a question. I have a friend, he's in the ATL Atlanta, and every year he's a radio host, and every year he plans a trip to like Morocco or Africa. I'm just wondering why. Is that something you've ever considered, going to Africa? Or I don't really hear that answer. I'm just wondering.
I just got back. I was in Morocco last month.
Wait, okay, so
literally a month ago today, I got back from Morocco.
I'm sorry. I am so
yeah. So no, I have been to Morocco, Egypt, and Ghana.
Okay.
I think total, I'm not quite at 50 countries, but I should probably be close to that. I would like to get back to the continent and hit up like Botswana and Namibia. But right when, of course, I'm like everybody else, I have big plans in 2020 that didn't happen.
And then it hit or whatever like that, so you couldn't go there. Okay, so I'm catching up. I just watched your video on dating in Mexico City because, you know, people be wanting to know about how I'm gonna get somebody. Like if I go there, like, is there people, do they like us? Do they like brown women, black women in Mexico?
Yes.
Like, you know how like in Jamaica they love us? Like, do they like us in Mexico?
Okay.
I watched a video.
I can't speak personally, which I also said in the video. I'm not somebody who had a great deal of success dating in the US because, well, I don't know why, but I know what I want, what I don't want, and I am beyond the point in my life where I am picky. I am beyond the point in my life where I'm going to try and do gymnastics just to get somebody to go out with me. Okay. But the ladies who were on the panel shared that they were meeting interested parties walking down the street. They were on the apps, like I had somebody even comment on that video because one of the panelists is bald. And they were like, Mexicans don't date bald women. And I told her that. And she was like, I went on a date last night. What is he talking about? So yes.
Do. Okay. So you ain't gotta be
there are people, because here in Mexico City, there's also quite a bit of foreigners, but all the ladies who were on the panel had experience dating locals. I saw that.
And
so that is a thing.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
Yeah, I saw it. Okay, so we can get some. And of course we'll get good food. Talk about some of the food. I'm curious because I'm very greedy. And I've seen some of your videos.
This is a city that is really about food. I don't know. Maybe all of Mexican culture is about food, but there are literally world-renowned restaurants in this city. There is good food at every price point. You can go to, like, there is a food stall that literally has 2-hour waits. And they are selling, tortas de chilaquiles. And, there's that all the way up to restaurants like Quintonil, where you need to have a reservation
5-star.
2 months. Yes, 5-star. You need to have a reservation 2 months in advance, that kind of thing. So this is a great place if you are a foodie. I am not, but if you are a foodie, this is a great place to be. If you're somebody like me who enjoys museums, Mexico City has more museums than any city in the world.
Could you tell us the price point? Like, not price point, but like what it would cost? Like, say if somebody not even moved there, but say they just wanted to come there and check it out. What are we looking at?
It depends on how you want to live, how you want to be when you're here. You can stay at like the Ritz-Carlton if you want, or you can stay in a more budget friendly. I mean, like, there's hostels. There is it
comparable to US or is it cheaper? Because
things tend to cost less here. Food costs are less. Transportation costs, even though Uber prices I think have gone up, it's still significantly less. Like trip to the airport, if I spent $10 to get to the airport, that was like a lot of money.
$100 or $70.
Yeah, see, so like I'm used to trips to the airport being like $5. Getting into a museum, like I went to, I forget what museum I went in Houston one summer, and it was like $28 to get in. The most expensive museum, a private museum here, costs $10. And whereas if it's a publicly owned museum, it probably costs $1.50, $2. So that's why I say you can come and you can ball out and have I want to be lap of luxury. I want a driver, an SUV. You can have that experience.
You do the housekeeping or the
house sitting
stuff? Or
house sitting. Yeah.
I know
No,
housekeeping. I'm saying like, do you get like a
yeah, like I
housekeeper
do not have a housekeeper
cleaner?
because I don't want strange people in my house.
Okay. What about
Um,
laundry? Your stuff,
and I
laundry.
do not want strange people touching my clothes.
I will put them in a zip bag.
That was a
Okay.
choice of mine.
Okay.
It would be very accessible and affordable to pay for laundry service and to have someone clean my house.
Okay.
However, my personal space, I am very protective of, and I do not like people in it.
Okay, because I heard it was very reasonable, but I do understand
Yeah.
you not wanting. So what I want to end with, I am going to put Adalia's information in the link to this video. I apologize, I'm not able to, or she has her name up. I'm learning. This is like my first.
No, I think Google does that.
Okay. Oh, it does.
So
Okay.
like your name, it says Joy Route for you.
Oh.
I'm not sure what it says for me.
I didn't even know this was like my first interview. I am so honored that you decided to stop by. I will put your information. I would encourage people to go and watch your videos. The Joy Route isn't about living in a mini camper van. It's about living your best life and whatever that means to you. And so what I want to do on this channel, what I plan to do on this channel is bring you more ways that you can live your best life. I'm a little biased. I like living in a van right now, but she's also the reason why I almost sold that little van and moved to Cancun. So I just want you to live your best life. I thank you so much for coming on this video and sharing your story, sharing your information. Is there anything you want to leave us with? Any words of wisdom you want to leave us with?
I will say this. I know if you've got Black women watching this channel, often we are responsible for everybody else, whether they are our own children, whether they are nieces and nephews, cousins, whomever. And it is often hard to try to live the life you want when you have these responsibilities. And I'm going to tell you, choose you.
I know that's right.
That is not a selfish thing to do. You can interpret my words however you need to fit your situation. But if it's a choice between this thing, these people, and the thing that you want, and you're choosing yourself, I'm telling you, choose you.
Why don't we do that real quick? Why don't we do that? Because like for me, I wake up to birds chirping. Like I don't care what time it is. I don't care nothing about that. And people think, oh, you're nuts living in the van. But I think they're nuts paying high taxes, paying stuff they can't afford, dealing with people they don't like. As a digital nomad, I choose my coworkers. I choose the people who I associate with. I choose where I live. Why do you think Black women?
Well, it's not just Black women. It is the patriarchy.
Okay.
The world works a lot the way it does because of the free labor of women. And when you look at societies where women have started to make advances, typically those women are allowed to do that because there's women in some minority ethnic group who then pick up the slack for them. In the US, that has been Black women, that has been Latina women. Okay. But the patriarchy says a woman is supposed to provide all this free labor and she's supposed to do all that. So, we could be here all day talking about how we've been conditioned and that sort of thing. But I am a firm believer that sometimes, even if we know it deep down, we need to hear it from somebody else. And sometimes that's the thing that clicks. So that's what you asked me for my words of wisdom.
Yes.
My words of wisdom right now for the ladies watching this is to choose you.
I love it. I love that. Y'all, again, I'm going to put her information when the video goes up. I'll put it in the description box. I'll show on my community tab. I apologize for any sound or blurred videos, but thank you so much for coming on the channel. You are living your best life. You are living your joy route, and it makes me smile when I watch your videos and when I see you in different communities interacting and the advice you give. So I thank you and I honor you, and keep living your best life. Keep taking your joy route. Thank you so much for coming on here. Stay on here for a